Hi everyone, welcome and thank you for tuning in. This isn't going to be the usual type of content in which I sit with a theme and deliver on it. Instead, I'm going to be responding to questions I'm most frequently asked about my relationship to metaphysics and the teachings of Neville Goddard, and pretty much how I use them in my daily life and so on. Not in great detail, but in enough detail, and I thought I'd take the opportunity to talk a little bit about what my focus is on YouTube at least. Before I do that, thank you to everyone who has subscribed and who watches and supports, likes, shares, and all the rest of it. Just thank you. So, as you may know, I've spoken about it before. I was introduced to metaphysical ideas as a child, and this was against a backdrop of a traditional religious setting. So, I don't know if you're familiar with or not. On my father's side, there was Judaism, and on my mother's side, there was sort of a Christianity of a type. And also in my family, there are Islamic people. So in terms of religious doctrine or doctrine that I was exposed to, it was a very rich and interesting mix of ideas. And I mention that because some people who come from a religious background can feel conflicted. Certainly people have expressed to me that they feel conflicts when they start looking into the philosophies of metaphysics or start reading Neville. But something I believe is really important to note is that religious beliefs and practices are not at odds with the principles of absolution, or what is called the nature and operation of consciousness. Religion, like all human devices, come from this one source, and they play a legitimate and an important demonstrative or symbolic role in our development as whole beings. The ideas we get from religion really contribute to our understanding of consciousness because of their symbolic nature. So don't be put off by a religious background if you have one. You also have the option of inspecting what the symbols of your particular faith have to teach you about consciousness and your role in this great drama we're all playing in. For example, in Christianity, we have the virgin conception and birth, and this refers to our ability to conceive ideas and give human parentage to them without any third-party assistance, as opposed to a mystical human being born into the world. So just look at the symbols of your faith in this way and ask your higher self to transmit to you the interpretation of these symbols, and you will get them. And then you'll start to see just how useful your religious background can be to you. So anyway, I started reading Neville myself as a teenager, and then I got offended by his ideas, and I've spoken about that in interviews, because obviously I had this kind of traditionally Christian indoctrination, or what we call Christianity. And then, I left Neville alone. But interestingly, Neville never left me alone, by which I mean I felt a real echo of what I'd read from him all the time. And even though I wasn't studying his work then in the way I went on to do subsequently, I was aware of how everything he said was consistently being proven true. Most particularly his descriptors for the link between emotive thought and objective facts, that sort of thing. But I think for me, my most significant realization was that I really understood what metaphysics was all about and what Neville Goddard was talking about. I felt I knew it. I felt I understood it. And I trusted what I felt. Moving forward, since that time, sorry for any outside noise, since that time till now, I've placed heavy emphasis for myself on isolating feelings and being clear about what their physical correlates are. And those who are familiar with Neville Goddard's law of reversibility, and actually it does appear in wider metaphysical text, this idea of reversibility, will find that particular aspect of what I'm talking about particularly interesting. And then for me, learning how to use this knowledge to ensure that I was able to operate my human aspect so that I'm always fulfilling my human mandate was particularly important to me. I wasn't always successful in the beginning. I had many, many failures until I understood that my human body was an instrument of the operation of consciousness and not the driver of it. I've since gone on to learn that all physical things, or I learned over the years that I've spent experimenting and understanding and meditating and all the rest of it, that all physical things, including events, serve the singular role of teaching us the language of consciousness. That's to say, when you make contact with someone or something or have an experience of some type, that contact makes you feel something. And that feeling is the education. That's the vocabulary we're learning. So for me, having learned how to participate in the operations of consciousness, I now share that with other people. So I'm all about right thinking and correctness in perspective and outlook and ensuring that I am playing my part all the time. And that's something I'm fully committed to doing until I drop this garment and continue elsewhere. So when it comes to what I do daily, at this stage in my life, I don't use any technique for manifesting. And that's because I don't have to. I now know what feelings correspond to what physical outcomes. And I know how to evoke those feelings, sustain them, and to make an impression on consciousness, which is something I've spoken about in other uploads. And I will, in future, share something about feelings, but I'm going to have to sit with that information for a while so that I can put it in straightforward, practical language. But it's pretty life-changing stuff about how we isolate feelings and identify what their physical correlates are, and actually, to use a word, conjure rather than ganja, conjure physical things using the evocation of those particular feelings. Okay, so yes, in a nutshell, this is the deal with me. And remember, this isn't new information I'm sharing on this channel. This is about being reminded of the innate capabilities we all already possess. So if you're thinking about, for example, the upcoming election in the United States, I don't know why that just popped into my head, and the whole world is, I think, we're all looking on, we're all eager to see what's going to happen in November. What you can begin to understand, just to get a sense of what I'm talking about here, is that your feelings about this upcoming election are telling you what you are being called on to consent to in a participatory way, meaning that you and only you having that feeling have been selected to give human parentage to whatever it is that feeling is telling you. So whatever you are getting from XYZ feeling, you have been selected to give parentage to that particular thing. Can you imagine that? You are being called on to consent to something like changing policy or changing an outcome or whatever it might be, ensuring that the system is just and so on. And so everything you need to do that has already been taken care of, which is something that you really need to bear in mind. So this is what we're talking about. Our role, our participation in the operation of consciousness, not just about getting stuff. One thing you'll go on to understand is that the things we're seeking have, as Neville says, their natural life in particular states. And as you learn to move and to participate in the operation of consciousness, you'll find it very, very easy to access the states where the things you want live. And so they'll just be a normal, natural part of your life, and you'll drop the pursuit of the things you think you need. Everything you need is already provided. And as you step into who you actually are, you'll find that those things come to you naturally and effortlessly. So anyway, thank you so much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this little insight into me. I look forward to being with you in the next upload. Until then, stay phenomenally you.